Do you ever get that feeling in XCOM 2? That something really bad is about to happen?
New world awaits me. Multiple injuries! Not stop! The last of your kind are dead! I am taking fire!
But what if you could endure this? What if enduring seemingly unlimited attacks with just one soldier was actually the key to fielding the strongest unit in all of XCOM? But what single soldier could possibly change the universally accepted meta of, if you're getting shot at, then you're doing it wrong, and almost single-handedly lay waste to all of Advent's forces in the process? Yes, that's right. And no, I'm not drunk. Today, I'm going to share with you a playthrough video in which I showcase the Skirmisher as the single strongest entity in the game, and the supporting unit that allows him to become so. On the screen, you will see a brief summary of some of the more relevant statistics that I have compiled from the following mission. Through the defensive stacking of cover, hunker down, and aid protocol, you will see how the Skirmisher can unlock the true potential of some oft-overlooked abilities that seem ill-suited for conventional play. Please note that this playthrough video serves only as a simple showcase for this strategy and is not in and of itself a fully optimized version. In this video, I will make occasional references to a companion video and written tutorial that I not only recommend that you watch and read, but I also consider essential if you are looking to achieve similar results. I've linked to both in the description below. They provide a very detailed breakdown of exactly how to get this strategy up and running, how to optimize it, and the best use case scenarios throughout your campaign. Now, without further ado, please enjoy the following playthrough, and if you do, please consider liking and subscribing so that I can continue to make more content like it. Thank you. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and hop right in. Basically, for those who haven't played this mission, this is the Defend the Avenger mission, in which there's a few gun emplacements that are going to go ahead and attack the Avenger. I believe out of all the missions in the game, this has the largest number of alien threats available, which is why I chose this to go ahead and showcase this strategy. The medics that are currently along for the ride, they're going to go ahead and set up in positions of cover. But by and large, they're going to remain in these positions for the remainder of the game. The only two mobile parties for the entirety of this mission are basically going to be the Skirmisher, who's going to be tackling the vast majority of all engagements. And then you're also going to have the Reaper, whose pretty much sole mission is to go ahead and take care of any pesky entities that may risk the Skirmisher's dominance, or to give us some kind of advanced battlefield knowledge up towards the threat or the forward line itself. At this particular juncture, I'm just going to go ahead and weaken these gun emplacements, but I'm going to try not to go ahead and use these defense matrix guns, just because I want to go ahead and give the full showcase to the Skirmisher and what he's able to do, which is also why I'm not going to be attacking by and large with most of the other soldiers on the battlefield. So if you ever question any of the tactics you see in here, this is purely just to go ahead and showcase the strategy and is less about optimizing this particular run. Now, as I stated before, one of the most important things that you need to make sure to do is go ahead and establish your defensive layers before you engage. Alright, let's see what kind of chosen we get here. Okay, this is good. This is good. So this is the assassin, and as those who have played this game before can attest to the fact that she is typically the greatest threat. But you'll see here that though she does have some effective techniques, by and large she offers no real resistance whatsoever to this strategy.
Position, Commander. With each breath, I draw closer.
So here we're going to go ahead and do our opener. We're going to go ahead and apply aid protocol alongside threat assessment. Continue to advance our Reaper up the battlefield, which primarily you're just interested in incrementally getting further and further towards the front line whilst remaining concealed.
Invaders send a patrol.
Alright, now here our skirmisher is probably within distance. Yep. We're going to go ahead and be able to get directly into cover as well as use Reckoning to do an opening attack. Even though you see it's a yellow move, we'll still be able to go ahead and have a second move provided that we open with a Reckoning attack, even in a yellow square. Now, the most important part here, guys, is not that you're optimizing for retribution and getting adjacent to enemy units. That is important, that is good to do, but the most important thing is to target an area of cover specifically that we will be able to hunker down into.
We must destroy their armor.
Alright, now you're going to go ahead and see retribution and why it's so important on this build. There you go, guys. With one move, that was 4 attacks. And we should be utilizing threat assessment here. There you go. 5 attacks. That's not taking into account anything that's going to happen on the return fire phase. Sadly, it doesn't look like we were able to activate any other pods. This strategy really does want maximal activation of pods. We want the largest maelstrom we can possibly accommodate, but don't worry, we'll get there. It just takes a little bit of time sometimes, and you'll see. Now, I don't mind using the defense matrix guns here whilst I'm showcasing the strategy just to go ahead and weaken the gun emplacements, but I'm going to really try hard not to go ahead and blow up any of those to further weaken the pods. Like I said, I want to showcase the skirmisher's dominance here, and so I want to let him do the bulk of the heavy lifting.
Their duty to the elders fulfilled. They are targeting me. There is no fear, only pity.
As is the case a lot of times, guys, somehow it always ends up being that the enemy that you panic is also the one that you kill with return fire, but hey, at least he had a lot of fear going through his brain before he finally left this planet. Alright, now that is the top tier threat of all threats that this strategy can face. Believe it or not, the Elite Priest represents the greatest singular threat of any enemy unit that we could possibly have to the skirmisher. And the reason for that has nothing to do with any mind control or anything like that. It has everything to do with stasis. Stasis is an overwhelmingly devastating ability because of the singular fact that it ceases to work on the alien's turn rather than your own, which means when you come out of stasis, it is the alien's turn, and you are not subject to aid protocol and hunker down when it comes out. So that is the alpha threat, and we are going to deal with that quickly. At the same time, we still want to pay respect to the fact that we're facing quite a few enemy units at this moment. So we're probably going to go ahead and see if we can't get in an adjacent position to the Elite Priest so as to deal with him via retribution. Now, sometimes you can utilize Wrath with which to go ahead and pull yourself to that location, but the problem with doing so is if you're not guaranteed to get into a position of cover, then you'll need to use your second move to get into a position of cover, hence leaving you no move to apply Hunker Down. There we go, got some additional activation. This pod represents absolutely zero threat to us whatsoever. The Spectres, I would say, are annoying in the sense that, there you go, lightning reflexes is going to negate some of our offensive output, but they do nothing to affect our defensive stacking. Alright, now here is a good situation where you're surrounded by sufficient enough enemies where Battle Lord would be an optimal strategy. Battle Lord, as people may understand, is an ability that allows you to take an action after each enemy in line of sight takes an action. However, I haven't seen it activate perfectly in the sense that you get one action for every action that the enemy takes. But it still is a way to increase your overall economy of actions and is useful. I just wouldn't rely on it to do what you think it'll do. Now, in this case, we're still not going to break concealment, but we'll see if we can go ahead and place a stinger shot on the elite priest. We're going to take an inventory of all the enemies that we have around us. Doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to go ahead and charge our location and break our concealment. So we'll go ahead and take that shot with the elite priest. If we can just reduce him down to the point where Retribution will be able to go ahead and place him into stasis.
That's one turret down, but we still need to.
There we go. I took that turret out because it wasn't. There was no enemies adjacent to it, so I don't have to worry about damaging them with the surrounding explosion.
The advent power cells are at maximum charge, Commander. Their cannon is primed and ready to fire.
Now, you might look at status effects like being on fire, burning, or acid or poison or any of those things as being particularly detrimental, but at the same time, since Hunker Down is an integral part of our strategy, and that removes burning, burning is a complete non-issue. In fact, I like to have the battlefield on fire as much as possible so as to allow the enemy themselves to be set on fire far more frequently than the skirmisher. Now, I would have liked to have had the opportunity to advance up the battlefield to continue to activate pods at this point in time, but like I said, the ability to remain in place and deal with the threat of the priest is absolutely paramount, because he can absolutely spoil this strategy. And since I am playing on Legendary Iron Man, one round of these counterattacks would inherently lead to the skirmisher's death if I was unable to apply a protocol and Hunker Down. So there's a couple one-time use abilities that you have, like in the form of Whiplash and Battle Lord, and so you really want to optimize where it is that you're utilizing those. So you'll see me go ahead and look for opportunities to maximize their use, but oftentimes I will delay their utilization if I don't feel there's any impending threat. Oh, there you go. So it looks like we managed to deal with that. The elite priest, he went ahead and got executed rather than putting into stasis. So now we can continue to deal with the other aliens. And like I said, guys, these are all non-issues right here. None of these aliens possess an ability that provides any real threat to the skirmisher, and none of them really have area of effect attacks that they're likely to utilize on a single entity. Obviously, the Archons and the Heavy Mechs do have AoE attacks, as well as the Andromedon. But in this case, the AI does not prioritize utilizing AoE attacks on a singular unit. Hence, you'll see them attempt to continually shoot, but because of the defensive stacking, they're going to be missing the overwhelming vast majority of these shots. Oh, this is a big brain move by the Heavy Mech there to go ahead and fire the rockets off into the to the medics. But I'll say this: he doesn't want any piece of the medics, because I'll tell you this, they're extremely dangerous when they're in place with Guardian on.
Breaths while they last. Your people have suffered greatly to protect you, Commander.
As you can see, the assassin thought she'd go ahead and do her best. The katana has a 100% hit rate, guys, so no matter what defensive stacking that we have, she's always going to go ahead and apply somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 damage. But again, guys, she's a complete non-issue. Ideally, we'd see if the assassin could teleport or travel up onto the plateau there where all the medics are, and they would probably execute her rather promptly.
A great deal of promise. One must simply look past the current inhabitants.
Again, no matter what you feel is going on the battlefield, the proper application of aid protocol is 100% paramount, guys. I cannot stress that enough. You may sit there and look around you and see that there's a variety of circumstances that you want to address or deal with, but the defensive stacking is the #1 thing that you need to make sure to continue to do so this strategy works. Now, we might be able to go ahead and deploy the Reaper here to go ahead and apply Banish onto the Assassin. But I'm not convinced that it's absolute necessity at this moment in time, but it might be something that we look to do depending on where the Assassin teleports to. I think I'm going to go ahead and use this Whiplash on this heavy mech right here, primarily just because I want to eliminate his ability to continue to rain down rockets. So we can whittle him down to size. We can eliminate that AoE threat from the battlefield this close to the starting location.
No forgetful movement.
Now, because of that length of that log right there and the way that Wrath operates, I was guaranteed to go ahead and get into a position of that I'll still be able to hunker down. And so that's the reason I utilized it there, to go ahead and get over to the adjacent to the Assassin.
Holding position.
Now we're going to hunker down in place, and what we'll do here is we'll start setting up for the medics to... I'm assuming that at some point in time the aliens are going to go ahead and try and move somebody up onto this plateau. Again, it's not advisable on their part, but, you know, they're free to make any poor decisions that they choose to. There's just an overwhelming number of Overwatch shots here, guys, between the Defense Matrix and the Guardian-enabled medics. Almost nothing that comes up onto the ledge is going to survive. Okay, we were able to get that shot. There, and I only basically did that just to get her to teleport, which is exactly what I wanted her to do. Now, I believe she has an ability currently where if you miss a shot, she will return fire. And I don't mind when she does that on any of the defensive turrets, but it's more of an issue if she does it to the medics, just because I'd prefer that they not sustain a large number of injuries and have to spend as much time healing at the Templar HQ. So I have a 13 to 16 damage shot available here, but at the same time, combat protocol bypasses armor and equals a 100% chance to hit, so we wouldn't trigger that return fire that she has. So we're looking to do this too, to see if we can trigger another teleport, maybe get her to a greater position of disadvantage.
I won't be slowed by your feeble attacks.
That's not a bad position. We're not worried about that. We might be able to get, like I said, the Reaper involved at this point, at that location. All right, we'll move there and we'll see if we can go ahead and get a Banish.
Run.
Oh, you know what? It doesn't look like we have... I thought we would have line of sight on the... No, it doesn't look like we have line of sight on the Assassin. Okay, that's no big concern. You know what we'll do? We'll just go ahead and reload, and that way, when we ever deploy this Banish, it'll be a fully optimized 7-shot Banish. Now, I use a Steam controller, guys, and so you'll see me cycle through my abilities here.
Watch.
You know, makes my screen look like I'm a cat taking a bath. So try your best to ignore some of that.
We've got system failures across the board, Commander.
Now, Shen is an overreacting Sally, and she believes that we're under a threat, but I cannot tell you guys enough. There's absolutely no worry or concern for the Avenger itself or any of the soldiers at this point in time. Now, judgment affects the enemy's will, or triggers based on the enemy's will. And if you're playing on Legendary, you're going to see that there's a smaller amount of times that it triggers. If you were to utilize this strategy while you were playing on lower level difficulties, you would see that judgment triggers quite frequently, such that you can have a situation where at least half of the enemy units are panicking and fighting each other, which just further accelerates the effectiveness of this already hyper-effective strategy.
Position under fire. Still bound to the elders. Interference. I am forever free of the elders' grasp. Judgment comes for all who serve.
Yeah, it looks like these Archons have chosen to pull directly from the Archon playbook and line up one by one, all waiting to get punched in the face by Santa Claus.
I will never be made to kneel again.
Now that's why I love the Elite Purifier. I tell you, that guy, he is a friend of no alien. Okay, the heavy mech has decided to commit suicide by jumping up on top there. Yep, that's to be expected, guys.
Serve the elders to fight and die on the field of battle. The storm rages on!
Alright, I have no idea what she thinks she's going to do with this, but she's free to do it. Oh wow, looks like the heavy mech wasn't the only one that wants to test the defensive capabilities of the Avenger crew. Oh, there we go. There you go. That's pretty much it, guys. That's how it works. You know, with those guys firing multiple shots, the defensive matrix firing multiple shots, the fact that each of these guys has a repeater equipped, it's a problem for anybody that thinks they're stout enough to go ahead and climb up onto this plateau.
We've proven the Chosen can be hurt. Now we just have to work on putting them down for good.
I will reposition.
Alright, though our log has seen better days, it looks like it's still holding as a viable position of cover.
I reload.
So we'll go ahead and probably reload, and I'm imagining take inventory of the situation, but yeah, we'll go ahead and hunker down and see if we can't eliminate the rest of that threat. Like I said, guys, I would like to have more pods activated at this point in time, but you know, sometimes it just makes sense to slow it down just a little bit and deal with the threat at hand.
I go where I am
There
needed.
is nowhere to hide.
Sure thing. On Overwatch.
Canon court. Vale, voy. Afirmativo, cubriendo.
1
Spectres are particularly annoying guys, especially when it comes to your threat assessment, because I don't know what it is. The AI typically prioritizes those guys going first, and by and large, they can go ahead and suck down a large amount of your ammunition, as well as remove your threat assessment, or waste your threat assessment shot on them. It's not to say that they're a threat in any way, shape, or form, but if you're facing like 5 or 6 elite Spectres, it can slow down your strategy to a point of being a nuisance.
Our enemy strikes at me.
Now, we've got a good amount of panic going on the battlefield right now. It looks like we got 3 Archons that are panicked. But as you can see, they don't necessarily form the backbone of a substantial offense by virtue of their constant inability to hit, similar to those of XCOM.
The fire spreads.
Now, we're going to see if we can advance the Reaper here to that forward position to where we can actually get eyes on
The target is marked.
the primary gun emplacement. And there we go. It looks like there is still a pod that is adjacent to it, which if I had my preferences, I'd make sure that they were out of the way prior to blowing up the gun emplacement, just so that I can continue to fight more of these pods with the skirmisher directly. The juicy, yummy goodies, the gatekeepers, the sectopods, tend to hang out in the rear of this particular battlefield. And those are the ones we're trying to get to as fast as possible so that I can really showcase the dominance. So let's see, we got a couple stragglers here to deal with in the back. So let's see, I don't know if we should move up here or whether or not we should go ahead and just continue to deal with what we have in place. You know, I think there's enough of them here that we could actually mount an offense probably in place and have that be quite effective.
You are judged.
We'll see. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and pull the purifier in here. We'll apply that acid burn to him.
Their armor still holds.
Then after that, when he moves, we'll have another retribution attack on him. Maybe, just maybe, if we're fortunate, we can go ahead and get him to blow up whilst being adjacent to the other enemies and apply some AoE damage to everybody.
My watch begins.
They remain active. All will be freed.
There we go. It worked perfectly. Okay, so we were able to apply a little bit of damage to the drop-down shell. And there you go. Between retribution and threat assessment, it looks like we were able to take him down. So that was a productive turn, and that'll allow us to go ahead and move further up the battlefield and leave this rearward position behind.
Enemy fire on my intensify.
Volk says I am to obey.
Alright, now normally I like to utilize my grapple defensively, but I might want to use it to see if I can climb up on top of this building. Traditionally, guys, I would avoid any structure that can take damage and can leave your skirmisher to fall to the ground. Just because you're going to see, like you've already seen before, that lots of things are going to blow up. Lots of things are going to be on fire, and most structures can't withstand that sustained assault by up to 30 enemies concentrating fire on one location. But it looks like this particular group of aliens does not have... Yeah, I don't think that we have any real high explosives. If the heavy mech was still around, I definitely wouldn't take that elevated position because heavy mechs prioritize using a rocket launcher with which to knock you off your perch. There you go, lead officer putting in work.
There is no fear, only pity. Their armor saves them.
No, it looks like he didn't want any part of that stuff. Man, those guys are still hanging out next to the big gun. All right, well, we're still not in any significant concern for the Avengers' safety at all. It actually takes quite a while. You can kind of look at that as a false timer because as long as you have the large gun handled, the smaller guns represent virtually no threat to the Avenger whatsoever. As you've seen, guys, the vast majority of the offense that you're going to be generating is going to be taking place on the aliens' turn, which kind of throws the conventional XCOM wisdom to the wind.
I am covered.
Affirmative, covering now.
My turn on watch.
We can barely keep our...
Like I told you, Shen loves to panic. Pretty certain she doesn't have eyes on the actual battlefield here, otherwise I think she'd be a little bit calmer.
I have failed us.
There you go, guys. Classic example of this skirmisher wasting ammunition on the Spectres.
I must focus my strikes. Position under fire. Hold no sway here. I did nothing. I am under fire. I will never be made to kneel again. The fire grows. Must reload now.
Alright, we're going to see if we can use this grapple to get to an aerial position. Again, this is a free action, guys, so I'm still going to have the ability to attack twice. This is where they start to realize that my lightning reflexes is just as effective as theirs. But we weren't able to activate an additional pod here, which is kind of disappointing. We'll go ahead and put a heal on here just in case we get knocked off of our perch from any advancing enemies. Like I said, the ability to have an enemy that applies an AoE attack is probably your most significant threat, aside from stasis. And so in that regard, we're going to go ahead and just keep our life totals high on the off chance that the next turn is hyper productive for the aliens.
I drop just as they fall. My position is under attack.
I would have preferred for there to be a lot more chrysalids, guys, because I know that most of the community loathes the chrysalid, and I would love to stack their bodies 20 deep in order to show you just how amazing this strategy is, but I think that might be the only chrysalid crew that we're facing, so I'll see if we can do justice to apply some vengeance for the community. You know, they're still hanging out next to the gun emplacement here, and that's kind of pesky. Oh, I thought that just had one more hit left. Sorry, I guess it had two. So kind of a wasted shot there, guys. But if they're still standing there the next turn, we'll go ahead and blow that up and see if we can't, you know, knock them off their persistent desire to hang out next to it.
Shelter, here.
Moving to Overwatch.
En vigilance. Todo cubierto.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Hostile fire on my position. Threat increasing. Still bound to the elders. I will have more.
One of the most important things to pay attention to, guys, is to make sure that during the alien's turn to look for whether or not they were able to successfully knock down your cover.
Enemy fire on my
Because that's going to make the ultimate determination on whether or not you're mandated to change your position the next turn, or whether or not you can sustain maybe reloading and hunting down in place.
armor stands.
Now, it might seem to you guys as though a panic chrysalid would be a great friend indeed, but I can honestly tell you that the vast majority of what they do is just run around in circles. That might be due to the fact that they're burning,
Never fear your
but I'll tell you this, the chrysalids I tend to fight against tend to panic and burn in equal measure. Alright, this gatekeeper's just annoying me. I would ideally like it if he would run up to me and engage in combat, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So whatever he's got coming to him is his choice, because he's chose to remain for, I want to say, the last 5 turns directly adjacent to the gun emplacement. So, you know, whatever happens, happens, buddy.
There is no fear.
And I believe that Archon is also going to sustain a horrible and gruesome death. Alright, we'll go ahead and knock out this gun emplacement, and I think that should take out at least the Archon, I believe. And then we'll probably just continue to hunker down. I don't see any real reason that we need to move at this particular juncture. We could probably continue to stack up these bodies up on the building if they continue to press.
Good work out there. The generator is...
Yep, there we go. Archon's gone, and looks like the Gatekeeper has seen better days, so...
Enemy forces.
As Bradford so eloquently pointed out, we're going to continue the mopping phase here.
Afirmativo. Cubriendo.
I think we still have at least one, if not two, pods that are unpopped at this point in time. I want to say probably one.
I am on watch.
And that pod is likely to contain either a sectopod or a Gatekeeper. Ideally a sectopod, but just so I can showcase the variety of interactions here. But if it's Gatekeeper, that's fine too. There we go. Looks like that Archon went out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Before no servant of the Alliance. Our enemy strikes at me.
Looks like he tried to slap some sense into that chrysalid, which, you know what? I'm down for that.
Minor damage only. I am under fire. Hold no sway here. Enemy fire on my elders are doomed.
Now, I know some people might feel as though the battle is going well thus far, and so they might be tempted to go ahead and press the squad up farther. I would argue that really it doesn't do anything to increase your overall offensive output, and it does put you at a greater risk or jeopardy of getting your soldiers injured and thus being on the bench a little bit longer. I'm of the mindset that if it's not broke, don't fix it. Plus, if you really wanted to increase your offensive output, you could just go ahead and engage your defensive matrix guns, or you could also employ, like I've said in the past, you can employ the use of a sharpshooter team in the rear that would go ahead with stocks
I see
and
everything.
plink away at any of the enemies in the forward position of the field. Because it's not just injuries you have to think about when you're talking about this strategy, guys. You also want to maintain a high will. And the more injuries that you take and the more enemy pods that you encounter with a particular unit, the further the negative impact on its will it's going to be.
The day is mine. Our freedom is worth more than our lives. They are targeting me. The enemy is locked on.
Now, at this point in time, I could stay in place and continue to eliminate these threats, but I think I want to go ahead and see if I can pop additional pods, because really it's just not an efficient use of time to go ahead and fight only 3 opponents at a time. We want to see if we can activate as many as possible. The most effective I've ever been able to generate pod activation on this mission was, I want to say, in the neighborhood of around 25 enemies at the same time.
those still bound to the Elders. I must improve.
There you go, guys. So that's that should be the last of them. I think that so we're looking at another gatekeeper here.
Head down.
Got it covered.
Yeah, there's no additional concerns on the battlefield, guy. There's no additional
let them
priests or anything
pass.
like that. So at this point in time, it's all downhill from here. There's going to be nothing that absolutely stands in our way.
I'm under enemy attack for all who serve. Instruct their armor. I will not fail you again. Our enemy strikes still bound to the Elders. My fight will go on.
Now, because all threats are pretty much handled at this point in time, and the rest is just cleanup, we look for opportunities to do fun stuff, like maybe bait the enemies in to see if we can go ahead and get them in an AoE explosion trap. Maybe set up a series of chain reactions. We have three enemies here that have the ability to participate in that kind of thing. We got the two gatekeepers that when they explode, they deal AoE damage, and we also have... I thought I saw a purifier. I could have been wrong. Never mind. So it looks like we have two. Oh, there he is. Yep. Okay, so it looks like we have the purifier as well. So now moving directly adjacent to the elite purifier and the shield bearer is going to allow our retribution to be hyper effective next turn.
Holding position.
Overwatch.
Tout de suite, ben y verás.
I'll watch closely.
This is looking good, guys. I think we're going to be able to get.
Must
I think we're
focus
going to be
my
able to get some
strikes.
good chain reactions here.
My position is under attack.
Now, if on the off chance you are able to go ahead and panic a gatekeeper, guys, that's a lot of fun. There's few enemies that are better to have as an ally as a panicked gatekeeper.
No armor penetration.
However, I want to say the gatekeepers have the highest chance to resist any panic-inducing skill.
I will never be to kneel again. It did not stop them. I will never fear your kind. We must destroy their armor. I am under fire.
Oh, this is good. This is good right here. Okay, we missed this. This is good though. So having these two gatekeepers directly adjacent to each other, if we can stage this properly, we should be able to get a nice little chain reaction going here if we can get one of them.
Fire cannot be stopped.
One of them to explode. Now the question is can I involve anybody else in it? I don't know if I want to involve the purifier in it, because if we manage to get the explosion from one gatekeeper to another gatekeeper, and then finally also to the purifier, that's actually a pretty substantial amount of damage that we would be dealing to ourselves. Plus it looks like the elite lancer is probably... Yeah, let me take a look. So there's 12 on that other gatekeeper, 5. Let's see, 5 for the shield bearer. Yeah, what we'll probably do here is if we... Yeah, I don't think there's any other threats that we have to deal with here. So let's see if we could have take justice and probably, I think it will probably pull one of these guys up to cover, deal a little bit of damage with the attack, and then potentially add to that with retribution or
No
an
one
AoE chain
escapes.
reaction. There you go. So he's down to 4 life, and if we can go ahead and get the kill on that gatekeeper to our left, this should be pretty good.
Position.
I'm on it.
I'm pretty certain that we're going to have everybody that's adjacent to the skirmisher die this turn.
Watching comes naturally.
There you go, guys. So that's exactly what we're looking for. We knocked our skirmishers down to 7 health. Were the purifier to be adjacent to the skirmisher, it wouldn't have been necessarily a problem. It just would have meant we had to use 2 med packs the next turn.
It did not strike the flesh. The enemy is fire spreads. I cannot endure this.
If anybody can endure this, buddy, it's you. Trust me. Trust and believe. We've been through this a time or two before.
Go heal them.
Renin en marcha.
I can cover it.
Oh, there you go. So we were able to reveal another Spectre.
You will never.
These are the kinds of stragglers that basically they're probably going to be hiding, for all intents and purposes. I don't think that the AI has any understanding how to deal with this strategy, and to be honest, I think the best thing is for them to hide or run, or promptly march to their death. But either way, we're equally happy with any of these. Actually, the worst thing that can happen is if a chrysalid decides to bury itself and hide that way, then you'll be spending another 5 minutes running around the map using scanning protocol to try and reveal them. Now, what we're going to be doing here, guys, is, again, we want to maximize the ability of Retribution to provide offense to the battlefield, so we're going to go ahead and get directly adjacent to these 2 units. And at this particular juncture, I could utilize an offensive skill, but in all honesty, I want to continue to encourage you guys just to hunker down, okay? Until you have an understanding as to what the resistance you might face or what the threats are. I want to go ahead and lean further into the strategy just so you understand that as long as you continue to replicate exactly what I've put out here, that you're going to be completely safe, even if the mission may take a little bit longer than it normally would. In situations where you're pressed for time, you could utilize your other more optimized squads that are more capable of dealing with timed missions. Or you can go ahead and just choose to take some chances and utilize those offensive actions.
Te haré caso.
But in a mission such as this, we're at absolutely no threat whatsoever. The main gun's taken out. We have 195 left on the Avenger Integrity. And it would take probably more time than you or I have to go ahead and whittle that Avenger down to nothing. Now, I don't know who's going to deal with this Spectre. He does have full life, but again, he represents absolutely no threat whatsoever. He's just more of a nuisance at this point in time. And it looks like he volunteered to go ahead and have death by Reaper, so we'll go ahead and oblige him in just a minute.
All will be free.
Oh, there you go. Armor kept him alive. So the Purifier is going to go ahead and suck down one additional turn of his actions. But because nobody else is in the area, it's really not a concern at all. Now, looking over our remaining skills here, we're probably actually going to just ignore the hunker down this turn. Even if it means we're on fire along those lines, it's not a problem. We'll just go ahead and reload and apply the hit right there.
Heading out!
This is essentially a time in the mission when you're going to look to pop the champagne and pour the Gatorade on the coach. That is pretty much always going to be done by the supporting medics, as the last of these gun emplacements can't be seen by the defensive matrix turrets.
Disparo cohete.
I'm at your service.
I want to see if I can actually apply explosives onto both of these things. I don't think I've tested this before to see if whether or not they're in range with each other, but it looks like they're not. It doesn't look like the rocket launcher nor the Claymore is capable of encapsulating both of them. So we'll probably do the greatest amount of overkill that you've ever seen on a Spectre, and we'll give them 7 shots of Banish to consider. This is normally instant death for most any enemy in the game, guys, and Spectre is definitely not the stoutest among them, so...
Not a problem.
Now, I've never tried capacitor discharge on these two, but I think that does have the range to get both of them in the area of effect. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's any other enemies that the skirmisher is going to encounter in this battle, and I'm fairly certain, unless there's any hidden specters or anything like that still remaining, that it's just these two gun emplacements that remain.
Si tú lo dices.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Descarga los condensadores.
We've destroyed all of the enemy siege.
There you guys go. That's basically it. Other than a big brain move by a heavy mech to go ahead and apply some meaningless damage to our group of medics, we would have only sustained having 1 soldier injured on this mission and gone through 28 enemies in 18 turns. If we had deployed the defensive matrix, maybe outfitted the rest of our squad with some long-range snipers with stocks, this mission would have taken far less time just because of the constant trickle of damage we would have been able to apply across the entire battlefield. But the point was to basically show you guys that this is the absolute strongest squad that you can field in the majority of challenging and difficult situations. And it is not intended to be a replacement squad to fight every single timed mission, but what you'll see is that there's a mix between timed and untimed missions, or specifically there's some single objective timed missions in terms of like planting the X4 charges or taking out a VIP. And in these regards, this squad is by far the strongest thing that you could possibly field if you're looking for maximal battlefield control. There's absolutely no threat once you're able to read my tutorial and look through all the areas of concern Once you understand all of those and you are able to consistently follow the same strategy, again, moving directly towards the objective into cover and allowing yourself the ability to hunker down, as long as you do those things and continue to apply aid protocol, there's really going to be nothing that the game can throw at you that you can't easily handle. And this is irrespective of difficulty level, guys. I've tried this out on a variety of singular missions that are only encountered once in the game. I can honestly say that the alien rulers, only the Archon King has anything that can possibly negatively affect you. You can stand toe-to-toe with the Berserker Queen, and she has absolutely nothing that she can do to you. The same is true of the Viper King. I've also tried this strategy out with, again, every single one of the Chosen. And you guys saw it right there that the only Chosen that has really anything to offer in the way of resistance is the Assassin. And even she's very poorly equipped to deal with the offense that you're able to bring to bear. The reality is, guys, if you're really looking to play this game symmetrically and learn the strategies with which to deal with all of the problems that conventional XCOM puts forth to you, I highly recommend that you do so and you learn how. But if in the meantime you're looking to either try out some different asymmetrical strategies and try to incorporate some additional play styles into the way you play, I cannot recommend enough that you try this strategy, because a lot of these skills and some of these character classes are considered a throwaway by some of the XCOM community, which isn't to say that nobody finds them of major use. But what I've tried to show here today is that through the layering of these skills together, in terms of return fire, judgment, aid protocol, threat assessment, you can field one of the highest offensive and defensive output units that the game has to offer, and can do so with relatively perfect safety. The reality is this is going to lend itself to not only your in-game gameplay, but also your overworld gameplay, because your soldier is going to be sustaining far fewer wounds. They're going to have far fewer days that they're going to be spending in recovery, far less sustained penalties as far as dealing with the problems encountered from low willpower. You can definitely utilize the strategy to cycle between 2 skirmishers and 2 groups of medics. And I can tell you guys, honestly, it's a lot of fun and it's super effective. So please, by all means, go ahead and check this out and give it a try yourselves, okay? I left in a tutorial a full detailed description of how to get this up and running, and then how early you can do so, and then some other things that you can do to optimize it, okay? So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, any comments at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments. It's my first video on YouTube, guys, so go easy on me. But if you liked it, go ahead and feel free to press like and subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you guys around in the forums and in the comments. All right. Thanks, guys. Later.